Hello everybody, this is Austin from Minipainter Studio here with my second ever painting tutorial. So in last week's video, I asked you guys to request what you wanted to see painted next, and we had a request from one of the minis from my Instagram page. It was a Kroot Carnivore squad that I painted up for mini wargaming. So yeah, I'm going to go over how I painted that guy here. Now I'm going to do it a little bit different because I did the majority of that commission using an airbrush, but I know not everybody has an airbrush, so I wanted to make this painting tutorial accessible to everybody. So we're going to start off with this base coat of dryad bark. That's what it's called, dryad bark. So something else that I wanted to try in this video is to try and paint it without using washes. So this was just a kind of a challenge that I wanted to do for myself, and also show that you don't need to use washes when painting all of your minis. Especially when you're starting from a dark base like this, where this is basically what the color of Agrax Earthshade is going to be anyways. It also saves a lot of time because recently I was painting a mini that had a lot of washes on it. I found myself just kind of sitting around waiting for washes to dry when I could have been doing other things. So yeah, here's the next layer, Gorthor Brown. So the technique here is basically you avoid the deepest recesses with this next layer. So you'll see I have that really nice base of dryad bark. We're coming in next with the Gorthor Brown, which is a nice mid-tone brown. And basically, I'm just going to hit all the same areas, just without hitting those deepest recesses. And that's basically what a wash does anyways, is that it flows into the recesses. So this is a way of doing it in reverse. You're just avoiding the recesses with the next paint. So yeah, you'll see on that shoulder right there, I did everything except for those two little lines that are coming up from the bottom, which are just the striations of the muscle. You'll see here, it kind of gives it a really cool effect. It's a little bit stylized, which is not normally how I like things, but it was a cool exercise and it actually came out really well. And if you don't have access to an airbrush, this is kind of a way of achieving similar things just without that. Because you're basically just trying to hit all the parts of the model that would get hit with the airbrush and avoiding those recesses. So you actually have a little bit more control too, which is nice. You'll see I'm kind of focusing on the face here because that'll accent, really show off this technique. And yeah, you can see already he's looking nice and bright. And here's the last layer, the Baneblade Brown. This is a really nice color, especially in this triad. It just looks really nice with those colors. And that's the thing. Like if you look at the Citadel painting app, they have these really nice triads of colors that all go well together. And obviously these guys have been painting for a long time, so they know which ones go well. And they're actually kind of developed sometimes to fit with each other. So I'm going to focus on the face here just so I can like show you. If you saw last week's tutorial, it's very similar to what I did with the flesh tones. Because this totally can be a flesh tone for you. If you want kind of like a darker skin color, this one works. My inspiration for this skin color to do for Kroot was actually from my brother. His first army was Tau, and one of the first units that he completed painting was his Kroot Carnivores. And what he did is he just threw some Tallarn flesh on their skin and then washed it with Agrax Earthshade, and it gave it this really kind of cool mid brown tone, and I actually really liked it, and it came out really nicely. Considering it was his first unit he painted, I really liked it. So I kind of wanted to replicate that, but with a little bit more technique involved. So that this is how it came out. And when I finished that commission for Mini Wargaming, they really liked it. So yeah, so you'll see I'm just hitting all those raised areas and going a little bit, avoiding even more than I did with the Gorthor Brown. And you'll already see it has the effect that we want, where you have the really deep recess of the dryad bark and then just moving on up from there without a wash, which is the whole point of this video. I'll do a little spin around in the next clip to show you how everything came out. See right here. You have like high tones, mid tones, and deep tones without using a wash. And so really, when I was doing this tutorial, and this is with breaks and checking the footage and all this stuff, I was able to paint this guy in less than 2 hours. And that's with all those breaks. So it definitely saves you time not using the washes. All right, so this was the paint scheme that Mini Wargaming has for their House Tau Army. I think it's the Daleth Sept, but basically they use Cantor Blue on the armor parts. In this case, I'm putting it on the cloth because he doesn't really have any armor. So yeah, it's Cantor Blue on the cloth parts. And it's a really nice blue. I've never used Cantor Blue before that commission. And it's a really nice change of pace from the McCraig Blue that I'm used to using. It's just a little bit deeper, but still vibrant. So like if you want just a bit of a deeper blue, try out McCraig Blue, or I mean Cantor Blue. But yeah, you'll see, just don't get it on the skin. Focus on getting that vest and the armband. Yeah, pretty straightforward. And this is also something that I normally would use a wash on, but the Cantor Blue is a nice, deep, rich blue. Another thing that I found interesting of the Mini Wargaming paint scheme was that they highlight their Cantor Blue with the Fang. Now, the Fang is a base paint, so I thought that was pretty interesting, but it just kind of goes to show you don't always have to follow what it says on the bottle, or, for instance, the names like Mephiston Red. That's like a character from the Blood Angels. You don't have to paint him with that color. It's just they give their colors fancy names so that it's more interesting. So you'll see I'm just hitting the raised areas with that Fang color. And since it's like a grayish blue, it doesn't brighten up that Cantor Blue. So it's a really nice highlight. It's subtle. It's like a grayish blue, so it keeps the color true to the Cantor Blue without affecting it too much. So that's what I really like about highlighting it with the Fang. And there's a lot of raised areas on the vest here and the shoulder thingies. So it's pretty straightforward. Just hit those up. And you see the models coming out really nice. Now all we have to do is some details and the gun. And the gun is very straightforward. Hit all the metal parts with lead belcher while avoiding the skin and the vest. Lead belcher is a great metallic paint. I actually haven't used too many other than that, but I have seen other painting tutorials where the artist is using like some different metallics. So I've been looking to branch out, but lead belcher is working for me, so I'm going to stick with it. And so lead belcher is definitely something I would usually use a wash on, but I wanted to stay true to the video, so we're not using any washes. And so now we're going to do the stock of the gun, and I'm just using Mornfang Brown. It's a nice reddish, much more warm brown than the skin tone brown that I did. And obviously you want something different because the model itself is already pretty muted. So I wanted something to stand out a little bit, and the redness of Mornfang Brown was really going to do it. And of course, normally I would throw a little Agrax Earthshade on that, but we're staying true to the video title. This is a Reaper paint. It's called Aged Bone. It's just kind of something I've been using on orc teeth, orc claws, and the little straps on lots of models you find for a long time. So I just sticking to it. You'll see this is where you kind of hit all those details, and it's also a good accent color because, like I said, the model is already very muted. So you go in with this bright, and it adds a little bright spot. So you see those feet. You didn't even pay attention to those feet, and now with the toenails / claws painted up, your eye kind of goes there. And then he has all these little barbs coming out of his arms that I like to do in that color because it makes him nice and bright. And then those little straps on the vest and the armband, you just want to hit those too because it really makes the model pop. He also has these kind of cool hair jewelry things. You can go a lot of different directions with this. But in the Mini Wargaming paint scheme, they have white as an accent. So just in this case, this is bright enough that it can act as a white. So I was just hitting all that up. And then I also did the wraps around the stock of the gun. Now this definitely, I wish I would have used either a darker color and then hit the highlights with that, or used a wash. But like I said, I wanted to stay true to it. So that part's a little bit flat, but it was a fun exercise to not use washes, and it actually got the model done way quicker than I normally would. So it was a fun little exercise. And you can see here the model is basically done. All we have to do is the dreaded eyes. So as I said in my last video, I love doing the eyes because it really makes the model stand out. I don't feel like a model is complete until the eyes or lenses or whatever it is are done. So normally I would probably do a white because it has nice contrast. But again, with the Mini Wargaming paint scheme, they wanted red eyes. So I went ahead and did that. And it actually came out really cool. So you'll see something happen here that I purposely left in. Oopsies. There's a bunch of red on his cheek. So now it's panic time. Not really, but you do want to work quickly. So what I did is I had a brush loaded up with some water. Then I took a different brush that was dry and sucked up some of the water. So you see right there, and you do want to work quickly because as long as the paint is still wet, you can get it. And so I used my finger there a little bit just to make sure I got it. And I saved it. There's no more red on his cheek. So I just wanted to leave that in there because nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes, and if you work smart, you can fix those mistakes before they become a problem. So yeah, now I'm going back in with some of that thinned down Mephiston red. So I have my extra small artificer layer brush here. You just want to get in there. And as long as you didn't do anything too thickly, you'll be able to see that bump of the eye. So you just want to get in there, avoid the rest of the skin, and get a nice little line in there of the Mephiston red. And it actually does pop pretty nicely because it is a bright red, that Mephiston red. So I went in there to the other eyelid. Sorry, my hand's in the way. Yeah, you can see me just working on that eye. So something else that I wanted to do, because this is the next step, is to get him on a base. I wanted to do a base without any washes as well, which is definitely not what I would normally do. You can see that eye is starting to pop now. But I just wanted to do a lazy, easy base. So I just cut up a cork, made like a big rock for him to stand on. I glued that to his base. Obviously, I took him off the base first. Glued the cork to his base, did a little bit of sand around the outside of it, and then just sprayed the whole thing Mournfang brown. And then I painted the rock Eshin gray and dry brushed the sand and the rock with Ushab Deep Bone. And despite it not having any washes on it, it came out really nice. Okay, so we just have to highlight that eye now because it has the nice base of Mephiston red. So we're just going to go in there with Fire Dragon Bright. It's just a nice thin line of it in the middle. It's going to help that eye pop a little bit because even though it is a nice contrasting color, just a little bit of the lighter color in the middle will accent it a little bit more. So you'll see me going in there again, extra small artificer layer brush, nice and thin down paint, and just hit the middle of it. And that's cool because you don't have to fill in anything. So all you do is get that little accent and the eye looks good. So I go in on the other side, hit that up strong, and yeah, it's looking good. So this is a fully painted Kroot Carnivore, no washes. So if you do want to see anything else painted up, just let me know in the comments and let me know how you liked everything, guys. Thank you very much.